Okay, I want to show you how to read poetry, how to approach it. You read it quite differently than you read narrative text. One of the reasons, or what I have observed, that students get confused on is they read much like paragraph format, thinking that right here is the end of the sentence. You really have to follow the punctuation in poetry. So when you look at this first sentence, lift not the painted veil, which those who live call life, and then you have a colon, and a colon is going to list or sort of announce something. It's like, here we go. The end of this thought is actually, like, it kind of goes on, but here's the end of the paragraph here. And we don't really call them paragraphs, we call them stanzas. But let's take it little by little. Lift not the painted veil, which those who live call life, though unreal shapes be pictured there, and it but mimic all we would believe with colors idly spread. Behind lurk fear and hope, twin destinies, whoever weave their shadows over the chasm, sightless and drear. So let's stop there. Let's just work with this first few lines. Lift not the painted veil, which those who live call life. If you're not understanding what that means, what I have encouraged students to do is find the really important words. You can do that, or you can take out phrases that confuse you. This one doesn't have a lot of that sort of formal language, like doeth instead of do, unto. So look at these first two lines here. Lift not the painted veil. What does that mean? Lift not the painted veil. If we were going to write this in modern English, we would not invert the subject verb like that. We would say, don't lift the painted veil, not lift not. Don't lift the painted veil, who some people, which those who live call life, though unreal shapes be pictured there. Unreal shapes are pictured there, and it mimics all we would believe, everything. It mimics everything with pretty colors idly spread, colors spread everywhere. But in reality, behind the colors, behind the shapes that are there, lurk fear, hope, and these two things are twin destinies. We don't even really need that to understand it. Whoever weave their shadows, we don't really need this section here to fully understand. So one of the things with poetry that you can do is you kind of, more so with other texts, you can skip over things, particularly if you're not understanding it. And this colors is just the European spelling. That's distracting to me. So let's move on to the second part. I knew one who had lifted it. Lifted what? What is the writer talking about? He's talking about this painted veil. I knew somebody who lifted it. He sought, for his lost heart was tender, things to love, but found them not. Alas. You can ignore that. Nor was there aught the world contains, the which he could approve. I'm going to even cross that out. So in the first few lines you have the writer saying, don't lift the veil, because it may be pretty, it has unrealistic shapes, and it mimics everything we would believe it to be, with pretty colors, and they're spread out real nice. But really what's behind there is fear and hope. And then, like every good gossip tale, I know somebody that did that. I knew a girl that once lifted that veil. I knew one who had lifted it. And why did he lift it? He sought, for his lost heart was tender, things to love. So he was looking for love, just like everybody else. I knew one who had lifted it. He sought, for his lost heart was tender. His lost heart was tender, meaning he's kind of brokenhearted. He's sad. He's looking for love. So he's looking for things to love. Did he find them under that painted veil? No. But found them not. Through the unheeding many he did move, a splendor among shadows, a bright blot upon this gloomy scene, a spirit that strove for truth, and like the preacher found it not. So, in other words, let me go back up here. Unheeding he did move, a splendor, and that's again the British, the OU instead of just the O. A splendor among shadows, a bright blot. Upon this gloomy scene, a spirit that strove for truth, and like the preacher, found it not. He didn't find it either. He was looking for love. He was looking for truth. And he lifted that veil, and he was disappointed. It reminds me very much of in The Wizard of Oz. If you're familiar with the story, The Wizard of Oz, the movie comes on every Thanksgiving. Really, this is, when they go behind the curtain, when they finally make it to Emerald City and they lift the curtain, what do they find? They find a gloomy scene, and they may have been going there for truth and beauty, but they didn't find that. They found reality. After you mark this as reviewed, I have embedded or a link to a website called Genius that sort of takes you through these chunks of phrases and will help you. And it explains it. You can click on it here. And it explains a lot of the text. So you click Lift Not the Painted Veil, and it tells you actually what it has over here is annotations. Everything in life is an illusion, all painted and planned by God as we were characters, and as if we were characters in a play. But I do want you to look through it before you sort of do the cheat sheets version. But I want you to understand it. It's important that you understand the sonnet before you read the student example of a literary analysis, because this is the original text, and then you're going to read an example literary analysis that someone wrote on Percy's. I don't know why I call him Percy by his first name. Shelley sonnet here. And if any of you are interested, Percy Shelley was a poet. He was married to Mary Shelley, and she's the person who wrote Frankenstein. Just a fun fact.